That's 194. Okay. That means if the rates went from 3 to 310, you're going to lose about 1.95% of your bond value. And 10 basis points happens quite a bit. So it's not that rare. If it goes up by 1%, just to 4, you're going to lose 17% of your bond value. As you can see, that number actually keeps changing. Originally, it was 1966 per basis point, right? Now, per basis point, it's 1738. That change actually has another name. It's called convexity, and it matters in the management and so-called immunization of bond portfolios. But it's a good measure, and you can do this for pretty much any cash flow stream. Now, when you're managing a bond book, either just your own money or you're financing it with other things, you have to calculate the overall duration of your balance sheet, right? So basically, what is the effect of interest rate changes on your as fixed income assets and fixed income liabilities? And that kind of gives you a gap analysis of your risk. Now, let's go to Silicon Valley Bank. Let me go to, this happened about last year, I think, March 24th. So let's look at the interest rates those days. Okay, you didn't think that it was going to get even crazier? But that's going to damage U.S. economy a lot more than it's going to damage the Canadian economy. Remember, Canadians can't sell this steel to Europe or China. Businesses make a decision to buy stuff from Canada and Mexico. Tariffs almost always decreases incentives for innovation because you're protected. You don't have to be efficient. It's that simple. U.S. had its best industrial capacity after tariffs were lowered. Why? Because it enhances competition and innovation. We have much better minds in the US. That's not a problem. But you have to give those people incentives to be creative. Now you're killing those. Okay, bonds. Come on. Come on, bonds. I am actually on hardline. Let's look at the 30-year bonds about a year before this. It's not even that much. Let's look at about a year before Silicon Valley went down. The interest rates, 30-year interest rates were around 360. Okay. And by March of 2024, I mean, towards the end of the year, they went around fives. Okay. Now, here's what Trump probably is one of the main reasons why Silicon Valley went down. After 2008, you may have known there's a new law. It's called Dodd-Frank Act. Okay, it created a special class of banks that were deemed to be important to the system. If they went down, they could create systemic crashes, and these guys were regulated very differently. If you were one of those banks important to the system, and in 2011, when the law passed, the limit was $50 billion in assets. And normally you get examined every 3 months or so. But if you're one of these banks, you had an in-house federal regulator that sat there every day, basically looked up every single thing in your balance sheets. If there were any signs of trouble, they were able to do something about it immediately. After Trump was selected, I admit he was elected this time, but in 2016, I used the term selected. They changed the law and the limit went up to $200 billion in assets. In 2018, Silicon Valley Bank had maybe $10 billion in assets. So it wasn't much of an issue. By 2022, they had close to $200 billion in assets. You have a question? Oh, okay. But they were still under the limit. Same thing with the First Republic Bank. They had about $100 billion in assets. I mean, those guys went down for a different reason, but they would have been part of the set of systemic banks as well. And Silicon Valley Bank they have so many loans and they have to have a lot of liquid assets. They had over $100 billion in long-term US Treasury bonds. The safest securities you can think of, right? In terms of default risk and stuff. Because a lot of their loan customers actually put the money back to their bank. Let's see what happens to the value of $100 billion 30-year bond portfolio. I'm going to do 100,000, but you multiply that with billion. Originally 360, and the yields went up to, let's say, 490. You lost $20 billion of your bond value. Okay? You're thinking $200 billion in assets. That's, if you were a healthy bank with $200 billion in assets, you should have about $20 billion in capital. You just lost $20 billion on a mark-to-market basis. So you're essentially insolvent.
Can you explain why, as interest rates go up, the bond price goes down? Or is it the bond interest rate goes down as overall interest rates go up?
No.
What's the relationship there?
The relationship is the way we calculate bond value as present value of the future cash flows, right? Future cash flows are fixed. Whether interest rates are up or down, I'm going to get exactly the same coupon, whatever the number is, right? But now I'm discounting those at a higher rate.
Okay.
So whatever that was worth $100 now is worth $90 now.
Got it. That makes sense.
Because essentially my financing rate is higher, right?
Is
So
that-
I require higher return.
Is that overall rate, is that like the benchmark rate that the Fed sets? That would
No,
be
it's the market
just
sets.
the market rate?
Yeah.
So you use the rate of a certain index, like the S&P?
No, you just use the bond yields.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just using like the 10-year yield or something?
Yeah. In this case, 30, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.